I rescued this car about 10 years ago, and like most projects, it got put in a corner and forgotten. Till about 1 year ago when I decided I needed to finish what I started. So this Charger was in really rough shape when I got it. The quarter panels had a lot of rust. There was a lot of damage, just dings and dents, and it seemed to have lived a very rough life in the backyard. Despite its condition, I knew this was a car I wanted to save. So the first thing I did was get it home and immediately start taking it apart, tearing it down to the last nut and bolt. Here I got the engine pulled out, sent it off to get it rebuilt at a local machine shop. Nothing crazy, just standard basic rebuild and small cam, and that's about it. Try to keep it close to stock. This 340 engine is not the exact one that came with it from the factory, but it is a 71 date coated block, so it should match up and everything should look pretty close to stock and keep true to form. Here you can see some of the rust holes. There's a lot of them as I come to find as I get into this car more. It's a lot of work. At this point, I'm just trying to go around the car and find out all the problem areas and see what needs repair and what kind of work I'm getting into. I'm starting to come up with a plan where I think I want to get the engine bay painted and start working in sections around the car, since I don't really get a whole lot of time to set aside to actually do this car all in one go. So that's kind of the plan. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of reproduction panels made for this generation Charger, so I have to pretend to be a fabricator and fix what I can and see how it goes. I need to remove the front crossmember and all of the suspension in order to get access to the frame rails and work on the rest of the engine bay in order to get it ready for paint. Well, the impact gun didn't work, so a little bit of heat and those bolts should come right out. As I take the last bolt out here, you can see the suspension start to drop, so she's ready to come apart. All separated and ready to be cleaned up. A lot of 70s cars like this Charger had what's called torsion bar suspension, where instead of coil springs they have these bars here that actually resist twisting, and that effectively gives you a suspension. Here I'm making a big mess taking off the undercoating, trying to get a nice clean base to put some primer down and put on some new paint. All of the black primer you see all around the car is actually rust converter. I wanted to be extra cautious and make sure I killed all forms of the rust throughout the car, just to make sure I don't have any come back to haunt me. There was a bunch of pinholes and some screw holes and different things kind of around the engine bay, as well as the hood hinges that needed repair, so you'll see a lot of weld marks all around the engine bay as I slowly clean things up and get it back together. This is where the driver's side hood hinge bolts to the body. It was pretty severely rusted out, so just cut out the old piece and welded in a new plate. Gonna drill and screw a new plate in from the back. Man, looking better already. Amazing. With a little bit of paint and a lot of welding will do to clean up an engine bay. Ooh, this color looks so good. I cannot wait to see the rest of the car painted. Excitement quickly dimmed. A lot more rust to repair. This is the passenger side door right at the front. Yeah, a lot of moisture seemed to have built up there and rotted this out. So made a quick panel. Should fit pretty decent. A lot of rust converter. Try to kill anything I can see. And just keep moving along. Hey, this is what they make grinders for. Moving to the back, I got the driver's side trunk gutter cut out. Just drill out all the spot welds. More rust, of course. Got to patch that up. Luckily, they do make new reproduction panels for this, so I didn't have to hand make that one. Got it clamped in place and fits pretty decent. So then it'd just be plug welding up all the holes I drilled for the spot welds, and that's all. Fits pretty decent. Well, looks like might actually be good at something. Ugh. Yeah, I forgot about this piece. Yeah, not my best work, but hey, this is why they make grinders. So, just trying to blend in the trunk gutter from the other side. I wish they made a new panel because I spent a lot of time, and yeah, it came out okay. Better than I could have hoped for, I guess. A little trick I used, just using masking tape to trace my shape out and then cut it out. And this body saw is my new favorite tool. This thing made quick work of all the sheet metal, a lot less sparks. Yeah, it worked really well. So just fitting in place, trying to trim a little bit at a time and weld the crap out of it and grind it all flush. This is kind of the result of what happens when you don't get reproduction panels. You kind of just gotta learn as you go. I'm still trying to figure out how to do all of the making of panels. I don't have any metalworking tools other than a hammer and dolly, and that can only get you so far. So it's a lot of geometry, guessing the shape, cut out the piece, and then lots of grinding, try to make it look like something decent. Yeah, so I learned a lot from the driver's side. So this next side, I'm gonna practice a little bit more before go ahead and welding in the car. But just trying to match the curve of the old panel that I cut out, weld it in, and kind of just start making one little piece at a time, shape it up. Yeah, the roof drip rail is a big mess. I had no idea a small hole was just going to lead into such a horrible looking job. Yeah, this thing got pretty mangled. I ended up using an air hammer to try to chip those spot welds, and maybe it wasn't the right choice, but yeah, I got it all off, and that's what I needed to do. Got all the surface rust here, so I'm going to treat all this with some rust converter gel. Try to spray that around with a brush and move it all around to get into all of the small places, convert as much rust as I can, and then clean it all off. Yeah, if this were any other car, I would be buying whole body panels, by the pallet. But unfortunately, they don't remake any of this stuff for these Chargers. Now, 68 through 70, build a car from the catalog. But this, well, nobody wants to really restore these, so you're just kind of left to fix them as you best as you can. Here I'm making a quick template, try to map out a new piece just to weld it in place so it fits decent and looks alright. This is the inner structure of the roof. I wanted this to be really strong, so I used 16 gauge steel, which is about a 1/16 of an inch thick, to make the patch panel. I believe the factory used 18 gauge steel for this area, so this should be a nice strong repair. The drip rail got pretty mangled when I removed it, so I had kind of a tough time getting it reinstalled, but basically I just tacked it on the front and worked my way backwards, hammering it back into shape. So welding and lead don't mix, so here I'm using a torch to just melt the old lead-filled seam, try to get some of this area cleaned up so I can get a nice clean weld when I put in my patch. Here's kind of where my lack of experience got the best of me. I ended up putting in too much heat into the roof and it warped a little bit, but should be alright. This was a vinyl top car, so none of this area was perfect from the factory anyway, and by the time I get it all body worked out, you won't even be able to tell. Just going over with some final weld passes, trying to fill in all the seams just to give myself enough material down there to kind of grind away and make it look fairly even. In the end, it actually came out better than I thought it was going to. You can see the drip rail is not perfectly straight. I tried my best to get it straightened out, but, well, you see. Anyway, it's going to be hidden by the chrome trim that mounts to it, so it won't be very noticeable. Trying to make another filler piece on part of the old drip rail that I got off that was just too rusted to save, so just another small patch trying to get this area finished out. This is the process of making small patch panels. Just fit it up, go hammer on a little bit more, fit it up, and keep repeating the process until you're happy with the fitment. Got the front drip rail clamped in, getting ready to weld it into place. Getting close to the finish line on this drip rail, starting to look a little bit better. Test fitting the chrome trim piece. It doesn't look too bad. Once I clean up the welds a bit more and seam sealer goes into it, I think it'll come out looking pretty nice. Tearing down the front suspension assembly, I will be installing new upper and lower ball joints, new polyurethane control arm and stabilizer arm bushings, new sway bar end links and mounts, and a new quick ratio steering box. Basically, I'm going to replace anything that's got the 50-year-old rubber in it. For the rear suspension, it's getting new leaf springs, new sway bar links and mounts, and a very nifty spray paint makeover. Surprise! Still more rust repair left to do. One by one each area gets done though. This is why restorations can take forever, because you just don't know what you're going to find.